Greetings, and welcome to Chained Opinion Podcast.
Hello, everyone.
Today, we're taking a close look at a really extraordinary claim. It involves an alleged encounter during the Cold War.
That's right, between Soviet soldiers and, well, beings described as extraterrestrial. It's a story that certainly grabs your attention.
It really does. We're going to explore the details of this reported incident, analyze the claims made in a declassified file associated with it, and look at some of the, frankly, big questions it raises.
Absolutely. Our aim is to really unpack this intriguing report. It's quite a narrative.
Before we jump in, just a reminder, you can find Chained Opinion as an audio podcast on YouTube Music and Spotify.
And we always appreciate it if you share, subscribe, and leave comments. It helps others find the show.
Okay, so let's set the scene. This story seems to originate from a document, supposedly a translation of a 250-page KGB report.
Right, and the CIA reportedly obtained this document sometime after the Soviet Union collapsed in 1991. That context is pretty interesting itself.
It is. And there's this quote attributed to an American agent who apparently reviewed it, describing it as, let me get this right, a horrific picture of revenge on the part of extraterrestrial creatures. A picture that makes one's blood freeze.
Strong words. Really sets a dramatic tone for what's described inside.
So the core incident allegedly took place in Ukraine, though we should probably note some sources say Siberia, which is interesting.
A discrepancy right there. But the main narrative involves Soviet soldiers on a training exercise.
And during this exercise, they supposedly spot a low-flying spaceship in the shape of a saucer. Classic UFO description, really.
Classic, yes. But what they reportedly did next is escalatory. They fired a surface-to-air missile at it.
Fired a missile, and according to the account, they actually hit it.
Yeah, the story goes that the missile struck the craft, causing it to crash nearby.
And this is where it gets even stranger. From the wreckage, 5 beings are said to have emerged.
Described as short humanoids, large heads, and large black eyes. Again, fairly common imagery in these types of reports.
Very common. But then, these 5 beings reportedly did something unexpected. They huddled together.
That's the claim. They huddled up and then somehow merged into a single object that acquired a spherical shape.
Merged into a sphere. I mean, what does that even mean physically? It's bizarre.
It's definitely out there. And this sphere didn't just sit there. It apparently started to grow larger.
And then?
Then it exploded. Just detonated with an extremely bright light.
An explosion of light. And the consequences for the soldiers who saw this?
Yes.
Pretty horrific, according to the report.
Devastating. The account claims that 23 soldiers who witnessed this explosion, who were directly exposed to the light,
Yes.
were instantly turned into stone poles, just petrified on the spot.
Turned to stone. Like something out of mythology, not a military report.
Exactly. It sounds fantastical.
Huh.
But the report does add a detail about survivors.
Oh, right. There were 2 who apparently survived.
Yes, 2 soldiers who were reportedly standing in a shaded area so they weren't fully exposed to that intense light.
Which implies the light itself was the direct cause of this petrification.
That seems to be the implication within the narrative, yes. A direct cause and effect.
So after this chaotic event, what supposedly happened next? Cleanup, I assume.
Well, the report alleges the KGB quickly moved in and secured the area. They took custody of the petrified soldiers.
And the crashed object, too.
And the remains of the spacecraft, yes. All allegedly transported to a secret research facility near Moscow.
The secret base, of course. And scientists supposedly got involved.
Soviet scientists are said to have analyzed these remains, the soldiers' bodies.
And what did they find, or what does the report claim they found?
The claim is pretty specific and quite startling. They supposedly determined that the light emission had fundamentally altered the soldiers' living structure.
Altered how?
It transformed their organic matter into a substance molecularly identical to limestone.
Limestone. So a biological organism turned into rock, essentially, instantly.
That's the assertion. It implies some kind of energy or technology that, well, it defies our current understanding of physics and biology.
Massively so. If you take this at face value, the implications for, weapon technology or just fundamental science are staggering.
Absolutely staggering. A technology that could induce such a rapid, state-changing transformation in living tissue is, Well, it's beyond science fiction almost.
So how did this story even come out? It was Cold War, things were tight-lipped.
Right, well, the CIA document itself was apparently declassified around the year 2000.
Great, but the story seems to have surfaced earlier.
It seems so. There were reports in a Canadian publication, the Weekly World News, known for sensational stories, we should add, and also a Ukrainian paper back in March 1993.
Right, so it had some media presence quite a while ago, and it pops up now and then. I think I heard it mentioned on Joe Rogan's podcast.
It has, yeah. It gets recirculated among UFO enthusiasts, and with the recent renewed government interest in UAPs, these older, more extreme stories tend to resurface too.
That makes sense. People are looking back at historical cases in light of new developments, like the Pentagon's UAP task force established in 2020.
Exactly. There's more official acknowledgement of unexplained phenomena now, which perhaps lends some credence, or at least renewed interest, to older, unverified accounts like this one.
But we absolutely have to inject some skepticism here, don't we? This is an extraordinary story.
Crucial. Absolutely crucial. While it's a fascinating narrative, we need to apply critical thinking. There are reasons to be very cautious.
Like what? Where does the skepticism come in?
Well, for one, you have people like Mike Baker, a former CIA officer who has commented on this story. He essentially called it, well, not credible in a literal sense.
What did he say?
He compared it to pulp science fiction or a 1950s B-movie. His take was that it's likely heavily distorted, maybe based on a kernel of something else entirely, but warped through retelling.
Like a game of telephone over decades.
Precisely. He also raised a very valid point. If something this dramatic, soldiers turned to stone by aliens, actually happened decades ago.
Where's the other evidence?
Exactly. Why hasn't more substantial proof emerged? You'd expect leaks, deathbed confessions, physical evidence surfacing somehow over all this time. The absence is telling.
And what about the document itself, the CIA file?
That's another point. What's often circulated is apparently just a single-page summary or translation referencing newspaper articles about this alleged 250-page KGB file.
So we might not even be dealing with a direct translation of the original KGB report, if it exists.
It's unclear. We're potentially looking at a summary of media reports about a supposed KGB report that's several layers removed from the alleged source.
And that location discrepancy we mentioned earlier, Siberia versus Ukraine.
That kind of inconsistency, while maybe seemingly minor, raises red flags about the reliability of the core narrative. Details should be consistent if it's a factual account.
Okay, so let's just sort of pull this together. The story involves Soviet soldiers, a saucer, a missile strike.
The crash, 5 alien beings merging into a sphere.
The sphere exploding with bright light, and then 23 soldiers instantly petrified into limestone-like material.
With 2 survivors witnessing it from the shade. And this all supposedly documented by the KGB, analyzed by their scientists, and later summarized in a CIA file.
It's an absolutely wild sequence of events.
But weighed against that is the lack of corroborating evidence, the sensational nature reminiscent of fiction, potential issues with the sourcing document itself, and inconsistencies in the telling.
It leaves you in a strange place, doesn't it? The sheer audacity of the claim versus the fragility of the evidence.
It really does, and that tension is probably why the story persists. It touches on themes of unknown power, hidden government knowledge, and the potential for truly bizarre cosmic encounters.
So for our listeners, what's the takeaway here? It's a heck of a story.
I think it serves as a potent example of an extraordinary claim. Whether true, distorted, or entirely fabricated, it forces us to consider the limits of our understanding and perhaps the power of narrative itself.
It definitely stretches the imagination. Thinking about, if something like that technology, that petrifying light, could even exist, what would that imply?
That's the provocative question, isn't it? Even as a thought experiment, considering such possibilities, technologies far beyond ours, different forms of life interacting in violent ways, it pushes us to contemplate the vast unknowns of the universe.
It certainly makes you think about what else might be out there and what forms potential interactions could take. A humbling thought, in a way.
And it leaves us pondering. If such an event, or even something remotely like it, were confirmed, how would that fundamentally change our view of reality, our place in the cosmos, and the potential dangers or wonders lurking beyond our current comprehension?
A profound question indeed. Thank you for joining us for this look into a truly perplexing alleged event. We'd love to hear your thoughts on this.
Yes, please do share your perspective.
Remember, you can listen to Chained Opinion as an audio podcast on YouTube Music and Spotify. Please share, subscribe, and comment. It really helps us out.
Thanks for tuning in.
Until next time on Chained Opinion.